It's time to get my little rollback fixed. It's wet now because it's rained, and I've got more water in my drain pan than anything. I think the biggest problem with this, why it was leaking, was when Brandon was here and it was leaking, he went to go take this off and he heard a vacuum. So if you hear a vacuum on your tank like this, it tells us that the vent is probably plugged. So we want to make sure we address that at the same time. That may be what's actually pushing it through, and I could get by, but I do rely on this thing, you know, to use it. So it's probably worthwhile to just go ahead and get this repaired today. I expect this to turn into a soup sandwich. I expect to get this off and find those brackets are all rotted like most times they are, and the tank to be beyond where I'd really want to repair it and just replace it. Again, we're back to the same thing with this truck. I really don't want to put a lot of time and money and effort into it because I'm ready to build me a nice rollback, and I have a nice Kenworth truck, a little T300 that I would like to build it with, but I want to, before I put this bed on it, I would like to make some changes and some improvements to the bed. So let's start with this today. And there's not enough there to get your vice grips on.
Well, of course not. That'd be too easy.
Can't get nothing in. Got all the lines disconnected in there. Hard to see. But you gotta be gentle because they're really fragile and they break. I broke one of the clips. Maybe possibly two, but I know one for sure. You can drive the roll pin out that holds the strap in the back hanger back there. It makes it a little easier to get out. This one's too hard to get to, so I'll just lift it and we'll just slide the tank out that way. We just got to finish pumping out the fuel. How many gallons have you got so far?
Almost 10. This is almost full.
We're about ready to hit the next one. Of course, I just put fuel in it. That's how it works. So this is the vent line that they had coming off the tank, and I believe it's plugged up. And when it's plugged up, it creates pressure. So where my tank was seeping is now pressurized, so it's leaking. And it's right there.
Oh.
Mud dauber. All right.
I don't know. It doesn't look like your normal mud dauber stuff. It looks like some kind of eggs, like
Whatever. That's
spider. I doubt it.
That's what caused the pressure on the tank. So if you're in that situation, if you got a leak, or you know, you take that off and you hear pressure or vacuum, I guess is what I'm saying, on your tank, check your vent line. It's a very good possibility it's plugged. So, it's like I expected. The hangers are shot, the brackets. Now there's only 2 bolts up in here. You can take them bolts loose and this whole thing comes out of the hangers, which are huck bolted to the truck. We're gonna go see what we can find as far as a tank and some hangers, and maybe just throw this stuff in the scrap pile where it belongs. Here's where I would normally go into the "we're gonna go ahead and fix this" speech, but I really just don't think we're going to. I mean, it's just there's just too many places with too many problems, and if I fix this, more than likely I'll have to address this again. It is just really thin in too many places. So let's go see if we can find us a the fuel tank. Always be suspect of any fuel tank that has more fuel in it after it sat than it did when you parked it. Because I guarantee you, somewhere it's letting water in. And there it is. More of the glorious powder coating failed. There's probably a hole in the top of this, and water's been running down on it and filling this tank. However, if it's a hole in the top, I don't mind patching it as long as the rest of it looks good. I'm pumping this out. We'll see what the bottom looks like. It actually looks decent, and the hangers look good, so we'll probably take them too. I have another truck that has aluminum tanks on it. I just don't want to use them because if something happens, I decide to sell that truck, I don't want to give up aluminum tanks. So, yeah, there you go. Just keep pumping this out. Well, we're still pumping away. This is 15 gallons now. It is really a shame that this truck has the miles on it that it does, because it is probably the nicest condition I have. Rockers and cab corners are beautiful. Tank's okay. The hood's got a little booger here, but minor. Got good tires on it, good bumpers, good grill. Needs the front of the battery box, but man, look at that cab corner. Such a nice, clean truck. Would you believe it's got 500,000 miles on it? How clean this thing is. Oh well. It only took hours, but we got it. We ended up with quite a bit. There's 10 5-gallon buckets here. This one only got filled to here though, but we'll let it sit and then we'll pump off the top and run it through a water separator and see if it's, the diesel fuel was good and clean, so should be usable. Got it in the shop and we have started to get all of the loose powder coat off, because anywhere the powder coat is loose is a potential for moisture to get underneath and leak. I think this is going to be our leak right here, because this spot is staying wet. Regardless, it's probably in this area, but we want to make sure that we find all the leaks that are in here, not just the ones that I think is on the top, because when we went over to get this, it wasn't leaking anything on the ground, but when we took the straps loose and we disturbed everything, now instead of that rust being real tight, we broke it loose. So it's very possible we could have leaks on the bottom. Now, at some point, it'll go to a point we'll decide that it's just too far gone, not worth fixing. But when you consider this truck, and I know I'm taking it apart, I could do a lot of work here, because this tank, a new aluminum one, is pushing 800 bucks. So I don't know, if you figure out how much time you have invested, if I can spend a day on this and it's okay and it lasts, then it was money well spent. So the next thing we want to do, after we finish cleaning all of it off, we'll get all these ports out. We'll plug them all except for one, and we'll put an air fitting in that one, and we'll be able to put shop air into it, you know, just like 3-4 pounds, nothing big. And then we'll put some soap on it and start looking for leaks. Once we know how many leaks we have, that's when we know whether we're fixing it or not. It's a lot of work to get to this point, but like I said, if I can do this in a day and back on the truck after repair, it's okay. We're saving money. We get into 2 days, now we're just learning how to fix tanks. It doesn't matter really, because I needed to take this tank off. I needed them 2 brackets because the ones on the rollback are in bad shape. I don't mind repairing this tank, because this truck, again, I keep saying it's coming apart. I just don't have the time right now to focus and dedicate to a rollback. But let's get it cleaned up, get ready. So I found this spot here that is damp. This spot here is getting damp around the edge. And we have this spot right here, it's getting damp. And then we have the spot up here that is just huge. Look at how big that patch has to be. You know, you gotta know at what point is it just too much work. Like if I had more time than I have money, then we just go ahead and do this. If I was just cheap, I would probably still just, well, I am cheap, but I really don't have time to fool with this today. If it was just a little repair, I would have moved on. The problem is this is so pitted, there's just no way I'm gonna get anything good out of this until I come way out here where we still have paint. I mean, that is just a massive patch. It's not that we can't do it, you know, it's just that, you know, that combined with this spot right here that needs taken care of, this spot right here is gonna be taken care of, and this spot right here that has now started to get damp. You put all that together, that's a lot of cutting, patching, and welding. If I wanted to do it just because I wanted to practice TIG welding, that's okay, but it is definitely not a cost-effective option, that's for sure. But the good thing is I do have another tank that I could cut the patches out of that are rounded, or it's thin enough we could round it ourselves, but good Lord. The problem is going to be if I put this on here after we do all these patches. Ooh, look, there's another spot. Right there, it's questionable. Oof. It just gets worse the more you look at it. Anyways, the problem is if I put it on there and now we go to cinch it down, places that weren't leaking before, very possible it can start leaking. So, I don't know. Let's go look and see if we got another tank we can use. Here's a parts truck I have. I think this tank is better. I don't think it's great. I think more than likely I go to take this loose and I have the same problem. So tired of the powder coating mess. So we still need, we're going to use this tank on the other side, but we're not hooking up the transfer pump. We're just going to put this tank, the old tank, back on and just not hook up the transfer pump. Like leave it unplugged so it can't, just in case somebody accidentally puts fuel in this old one. I don't want it to pump into the other tank. So this is the transfer fill. This back in the old tank. Okay, I think we're ready to put the old tank up in here now. I really need to flip this around. This way. There's not much left here. I don't know if I showed this, but they just broke. This bolt was welded to this T-joint. You see that grind mark right there? It was already welded. As soon as I hit it with the impact, it broke. Well, we're just trying to make it usable. Hopefully it'll hold. flip it the other way now. I kind of filled all the way around, but we'll be able to see this in a minute. I ground it in kind of a point. You can see what we got there. Ground it to a point so we could fill that with weld. I mean, I don't know if TIG is the right thing to do, because this is going to be like twisting a lot. MIG might be better. I don't know. I just felt like I had more control with TIG than I did MIG. So I got this set at 150 amps right now. Don't really have a good ground is part of the problem because it's so rusty. Let that cool a little bit, and then we'll add a little more. I like to hold the torch over there. Peter taught me that that's how you try and protect it from the impurities in the atmosphere. Cool a little bit. We'll try and go in a little more. So we're going to see if we can do this. The ground. Oh yeah, we got it. Good deal. I don't want to touch it. Won't be hot. Oh, it's pretty straight too. Got pretty lucky. So I ground it into a point, just hoping to, lay it in there and actually have something. Now whether it holds or not is a completely different story. But that's one nice thing about TIG is you have so much control over everything you're doing. I'm so thankful that Peter taught me this, because it has been so helpful. May not be perfect, but neither is the truck we're working with, huh?
Right.
All it has to do is hold an empty fuel tank, because we're just putting that broken fuel tank, the damaged one on that side, and we're just going to not use it. We're just going to move the other one. It's not exactly right, but I'm just not willing to put that much time and effort and money into that truck, because I'm half tempted to yank that F700 out of the shop and start building me a rollback. I'm just kind of tired of messing with this little truck. May not be pretty, but it's holding. I got it tightened pretty tight. Call that a success, I guess. Could change out the brackets on the other side. Now that the tank is on the wrong side, that transfer fill is back here. It used to be up here, so I have to plug it up like this. It's not ideal, but whatever. It'll be just fine. Not much left of that one by any stretch, huh? Bottom is falling out, the other side's falling apart. Ready to come apart, scrap pile. So now we got this back in here. I'm gonna have to mark on this, do not use, or make it so tight nobody can get that cap off, because I don't want it leaking diesel fuel. I hate putting that back on. I hate what we're doing today, I really do, but I don't hate it enough to go spend $700 for a new tank. Now we're pumping the fuel back in, and it's in this reefer tank, and there was a little bit of fuel in it and a little bit of fuel left in there, so I'm hoping it's gonna hold it all. But we need to start it, let it run a while, and make sure that it's actually going to draw out of there and everything's hooked up right. Make sure I don't have the lines backwards or anything weird, because that would suck. Alright, we'll let it idle here as long as we need to check it. I'm going to get a marker, paint marker, in my Nipex. That beeping. Something was beeping. Oh, low fuel. When I say powder coating comes off in sheets, I'm not kidding. Well, it's going to take a while. It's a pretty slow pump, but it's been running for about 15 minutes now, so no leaks. So I guess we're going to be okay. Not ideal. It'll work. I unplugged that transfer pump that goes from one side to the other as well. That way it's not going to continuously run and burn up. It's so full, I can barely move it. Alright, we pumped it all back in, and we end up a little over half a tank is what it's showing. And I put a stick in it, and we're probably about 3/4. But anyways, it's fixed. Now we got to roll back. On to the next dilemma. There's no shortage. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Check one last time for any leaks. I don't see anything. I think we're okay. I'd say it's about half. Okay. On to the next broken truck. I use a pair of Nipex and I crank that on tight. So if a gorilla can get that off, they can put fuel in it. I won't argue.